Are you a people pleaser to a fault, and would you like to end this habit once and for all? Hi, I'm Nathalia Christensen, and I'm a relationship coach. So, I am also a recovering people pleaser. So, I know this from personal experience as well. People pleasing is exhausting, right? So, let's start by getting into what people pleasing is to understand it better. People pleasing is when you are being overly nice to other people, accommodating, making sure that all of their needs are met in order to actually feel emotionally safe yourself. So people often mistake people pleasers with being very genuinely nice people. I'm going to say we aren't. A people pleaser is not nice because they love you. A people pleaser is nice because they, him, her, whoever, is wanting to stay emotionally safe in the relationship with you, whether that be a friendship, a family relationship, or a partnership, right? So making sure that other people's needs are met and that they are happy, safe, and sound actually makes the people pleaser feel relaxed, calm, and able to tap out of the anxiety, which is very often an underlying emotion for a people pleaser, like that constant feeling of worry, anxiety, and unsafety in the world. So people pleasing is what we can call a trauma response, also called fawn. So fawning, it's basically the same. It's when you please and appease in order to stay safe. So people pleasing really should not be mistaken with genuine love, genuine affection, genuine caretaking. Nothing about it is genuine. And remember, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus here. I'm a recovering people pleaser myself. I still struggle with this, even though I have come really far from where I started. And to the people pleaser's defense, I will also say that there's also always a reason why we are the way we are. You didn't become a people pleaser for no reason. Growing up, I'm sure appeasing and pleasing was the way for you to stay emotionally safe in the environment you were in, right? So, and it makes sense, right? Because as a people pleaser, you quickly learn that when you do certain things to please other people, then you also end up getting what you want, whether that be emotional safety, you want to keep your job, you want to make sure your partner never leaves you, even though that actually never works, and it might even have the opposite effect. But you kind of get addicted to the safety that people pleasing can provide. So so that's kind of what people pleasing is. It's not genuine. It's a way of staying emotionally safe. Okay? And so why we develop this trauma response is, like I said, usually in childhood. It can also be developed later on in life. It's not as if everything necessarily comes from childhood, but it usually starts there in one way or another. But we can also, for example, have a traumatic time in school, or have a friend whom we need to people please in order to stay emotionally safe with that person or a partner. So it can come later in life, but more often than not, it is rooted in childhood and rooted in your relationship with your caregivers. And the thing is, so when you are a child, you are so dependent on your caregivers. You know, if it can literally feel like equal to death and not to please your mother or father, because they have the power to not feed you, to leave you. You're completely powerless, especially as a very young child, right? You're so dependent on your parents. So whatever trauma response worked with that parent or your parents, your caregivers, is what you're going to be using with other people in the world. So if it worked with your caregivers to be really self-reliant and overly self-reliant, then that's what you're going to be out in the world later on. If it worked with your parents, your caregivers, to be appeasing, pleasing, making sure mom and dad that they're happy, because otherwise something bad's going to happen. There's going to be negative consequences, and we want to avoid that. Then that's what you're going to be using. So with the fawning trauma response, that's what worked for you early on, and that's why you're still using this trauma response. However, it's not a healthy way of coping with the world, because you will end up completely exhausted, depleted. You will not be taking care of your own needs because you're so busy taking care of everyone else's needs. That's what happened to me when I was in my 20s. I think mid-20s, I had my first complete breakdown. I was so stressed. I had intense anxiety, and I had been living with intense anxiety for years, and then eventually my body and my mind just completely gave up. I couldn't do anything. I had to postpone. I was at university at the time. I had to just postpone continuing getting my degree because I was just not mentally well at that time, and I had just been people pleasing my way right into that situation. And in the process not listening to myself, and that's what happens to a lot of people pleasers, right? And people pleasers, most of them, if not all of them, are also empaths, because we have to be. People pleasers have to be empaths, because in order to please someone else, you have to be hyper vigilant. You have to be so good at feeling exactly what this person wants, needs in the moment, and then immediately go in and fill that need. Right? That's the way for you to stay safe in the world. So that's why people pleasers are empaths. And it's also very overwhelming being an empath if you cannot turn that switch off, because you'll constantly be so hypervigilant and feeling everyone else's feelings, and you can only take so much. That's why a lot of people pleasers, they are introverts. They recharge alone because they can't recharge with other people. That's too exhausting. Does that make sense? So there are a lot of layers to this, really. But yeah, that's why you have become a people pleaser now, and that's probably why you feel, if you're still a people pleaser, you're feeling very exhausted, you're feeling burnt out, your social, capacity to be social is not as big as other people's, and you're wondering, like, why do I need to recharge alone? Why can't I just, hang out with people and do it with them? You can't do that, because you will be so tuned into their emotions and immediately abandon yourself in order to please them. So there's a lot of self-abandonment going on for a people pleaser. And I really want to say people pleasers are not bad people, even though I started off saying it's not genuine and this and that. It is not genuine, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person, right? You're just a person who is afraid. And you're a person who is using this trauma response to cope with life and to cope with that fear you're feeling. So what positives do we get from this behavior? Because let's not lie, there are a lot of benefits to being a people pleaser as well. You might be doing well at your job. You might also be saying yes to too much and not having boundaries at your job, which is the negative side of it. But you might also be good at, being nice to the boss and getting the promotion and knowing exactly what to say and what to do. Like that type of manipulation can be super helpful in life. And at your job, for example, you have to be a people pleaser to a certain degree. You can't just say like F you to the boss and do whatever you want to do and only care about your boundaries and your needs in the workplace. You can't, right? And in your own personal life, it's slightly different. In your own personal life, you can set boundaries to a higher degree, to a much, much higher degree, actually. But there are positives, and the positives are little negative consequences, less conflict than you would be having otherwise, probably, even though it can even also turn out to be the opposite. But those are the perceived positives, like less conflict, less negative consequences, more advantages in life, like getting the promotion because you're good at sucking up to the boss, basically. But the biggest one is the emotional safety that you feel people pleasing, because you do feel a sense of control. As long as you are pleasing and appeasing, people won't be mad at you. And I don't know if you're the kind of person who kind of can't fall asleep at night worrying about if someone's mad at you or if you said the wrong thing. That's all part of it. It's all part of the pattern, right? So it is a way of staying in control or perceived control, and that's what you get out of it. And the thing is, here's the thing. If you want to end this pattern of people pleasing, you have to face all of those fears, right? All those things you're avoiding and all those things that the people pleasing is keeping you safe from is what you now have to face. Okay? So you have to learn to be okay with people being mad at you, people not being pleased with you, because let me tell you, when you stop people pleasing, I can't promise you that people are going to be pleased. Some people might not be pleased. Some people might get pissed. Some people might have a reaction when you set boundaries. That's how it is. So the key is not to continue to avoid that. The key is to learn how to be okay with that. So that's how you end this pattern. It's by practicing how to be okay with other people's negative reactions. Okay? And feeling a sense of safety in the world, not based on other people's validation, but based on your own core self-esteem and your relationship with yourself. Okay? And another key element is to stop self-abandoning. You have to learn how to start listening to your own feelings, because you're so tuned into everyone else's feelings. But what about you? What do you feel? How are you? What do you want to do? Do you want to go on that hike? Or do you not? Are you doing it to make the other person happy? Or do you actually want to go yourself? So you have to learn how to tune into your emotions and then actually care about yourself, care about what you're feeling, and take action from that step. Start becoming the protector of your own peace. Learn how to set boundaries. So important with people pleasing, because when it comes to people pleasing, there are no boundaries. A people pleaser will do anything or say anything they have to in order to stay emotionally safe. Which is also why a lot of people pleasers lie as well. There are so many negative traits that comes with being a people pleaser. A lot of lying, believe me. A lot of lying. So again, people pleasers are not nice people, even though they seem like they're nice people, they're not. So the takeaway from this for you, if you're a people pleaser, is start practicing setting some boundaries and sitting with that uncomfortable feeling of another person being displeased with you. Just sit with it and know that immediate guilt you feel after setting a boundary, you can't trust that. It's because you are trained to think that setting a boundary is wrong and bad, because you have to please people. So you're going to feel guilty immediately when you say no. So don't trust that. So when you feel that guilt, when you feel that uncomfortable feeling, those uncomfortable feelings when you say no to other people, just sit with it. Stay on your own side and just sit with it. And then start tuning into yourself and your own emotions, for example, through meditation. Just checking in with yourself a couple of times a day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just close your eyes. How am I feeling? You can't do this with other people around you because you'll be so hypervigilant and tuned into their emotions. You have to be in a separate room by yourself and then tune into your feelings and then be honest with yourself. What do I want to do right now? And then try to take action from that place. Okay? So if you have any comments or questions or anything like that, please write them in the comment section below. And I hope you found this video helpful. There is definitely a way out of people pleasing. I mean, I worked my way out of it more or less. I can't say I'm perfect. I'm not going to pretend to be perfect. But working through these 2 steps is definitely a great place to start. So if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.